it works. So my presentation is about how do I use the data as an urbanist and how do I visualize it, mainly about the visualization. And first of all, I wanted to ask you, is there any architects or the urbanists here? Oh, nice. So there will be some persons who will understand what I'm talking about, like in the urbanist point of view, but mainly I will tell you about the data visualization. Second question for you is, do you know some stereotypes about the work of the urbanists? How do you think about the urbanists? What do they do, and what does they stand for? No ideas. So I wrote some stereotypes of the urbanists, and that they are totally anti-car. So only the bicycles and the pedestrian. Second stereotype is gentrification agents. So we want to revitalize everything and make everything super rich and super nice. Next one is always pushing for density. So there are stereotypes that we would like to build up everything, and for sure with the bicycles. And the next one is anti-suburb, so everyone should live in the city center and a high building. But actually, my work is about working with the needs of the people and working with the improving of the city and with understanding the city and the way it works, and how can we find the problem and how can we change the city to make it better for people, because actually people is the main ones in the city, and people build the city and they live there. So now I will introduce myself. My name is Ksenia Orlova. I'm from Moscow, I'm from Russia. Then I lived in Poland and I studied in Poland. And here in Madrid, I'm an Erasmus student. I'm doing my master's in planeamiento urbano. So I'm not architect, I'm actually urbanist and bachelor of spatial planning. And shortly, also I work as an urbanist in architecture and urban planning bureau. And shortly, I can explain my work to you as map magic for urban projects, because there is a huge part of my work when I visualize the data and when I make the analysis. Here I have the explanation of the urban project, for example. First, we have some problem that we want to fix. Then I need to find some data. Then I put this data to the QGIS, it's the data visualization program. And my role is to develop this analysis, to create some idea, and then to find some solution based on our analysis. So I think like most of the project, it looks like. First of all, really small introduction about the data, because I work with the spatial data. And mainly it looks like any other data, that we have the table, as you may see on the left, and on the right we have some spatial polygon or the point or something like this. I put some examples of the OpenStreetMap of the geoportal of Madrid, and actually I think Madrid has really, really amazing geoportal. Maybe not by the design, and sometimes it's hard to find some data, but I like the amount of this data. And during my whole year of Erasmus, I've been using this data and I visualize it, so I think it's really nice. And other just an example of Gdańsk geoportal. Gdańsk is the city where I live in Poland. It's in the north, just nearby the Baltic Sea. And actually, they look pretty the same, all these geoportals and data, as you may see. But the data is actually crucial for urbanists, and I'm gonna show you why. First of all, the data helps us to identify the situation, identify how does the area with which we work look like. Here I have the example, it's the area in Gdańsk. We've been working on some strategy project about how can we change this area, how this area can be more interesting for the residents, for the business. And first of all, it was the analysis. So this data helped us to see the potential of this area. This is an example of the key potential areas in our study area, where we defined the, I think it's a bit too small, maybe, where we defined the key areas, so the main streets, the most interesting things in this area, and also we marked the potential development areas, not for the buildings, but also for the public space, for the parks. So based on the data, we found some empty space which can be maintained and developed. And then the data helped us to identify the needs. This is an example of environmental needs, where we showed the connections between the green areas, between them difference, and connection with the sea. And finally, this data helped us to make an informed decisions. So based on the huge analysis and defining the needs and the problems, we developed a strategy plan, and it looked like this. Things that I showed you before, and I'm working with a program which calls QGIS, and Spatial. And this program is actually, it's free. And for me as a student, it's the most important thing. And it's actually spatial analysis powerhouse. So my work looks like this, that I take the raw data, here it's Caño in Madrid, and then I need to visualize this data to be understandable like for different people. Like probably it's hard to understand what is the relief if you will look at the left picture. Yes, and actually this is my role, and is to make the map readable, attractive, useful, and understandable for most of the people, not only the QGIS enthusiasts or the urbanists. I will show you how do I do this. On the left, we have an example of Zaragoza bicycle lanes and parkings. I made this map just to show like the biggest mistakes when you see some maps, I don't know, in the departments. As I have seen, in Spain, there is not a huge problem with the data visualization, actually. But at my work, sometimes we have a data which look like this. And here we have parkings, we have the lanes, and it's hard to read and it's not attractive. So my role is to create something like this, which will be still, we still have this information, but it looks more clean, more attractive. And it was the part about me, but now I would like to make our meeting more useful, more interesting for you, and it will be the final part of my presentation. Maybe it will be a bit longer, but hope not that much. It's my tips for map design. It's not only about the maps, but I think it may inspire you in some way. So yeah, first one is the color palette. It's not just I searched on Pinterest and found some color palette and now I will use this on project. Actually, I like to work like this. This is the Malbork Castle. I think it's the biggest castle for sure in Poland and I think in Northern Europe also. It's located, and highly recommend you to visit actually. It's located in the north of Poland, as I mentioned, and I found nice graphics which showed the mood of this city. And I wanted my bachelor thesis to have this mood because I worked with the city of Malbork. So I took the color palette exactly from the drawing of the city. A bit complicated, but I think it worked. And then all of the maps I made for my bachelor thesis, I made use this map. And finally, my analysis part of the bachelor thesis, as I told you, looked in the same style, in the same colors. And for me, it worked perfectly because it showed this cloudy northern mood that I wanted to show. Other color palettes is just it's just an inspiration from the Doshi exhibition. Actually, I've been in Madrid for like half a year ago, and I was so inspired by this drawing. So when I get home, I made like 2 posters of San Sebastian using this color palette, and I think it may be nice when you just go to some exhibition and you use color palette of the drawing that really inspired you and surprised. Other trick is patterns. I use them just to make the maps more interesting. because I think that sometimes we don't need to use simple color for all of the map. It can be a bit boring, a bit more not that interesting, not that graphical. So if we don't have like strictly defined borders, I think that the patterns can work really interesting for the maps. And next trick is minimalism. On the left, it's not minimalism, it's, it's an example. It was our work at La Lipa in Madrid, also from the previous semester. And on the right side, I put all the data, most of the data, not all of the data, that we used to define the biggest problems and health risks in this neighborhood. And for sure, we could left it like this, because there is a data, it shows everything, but we have to simplify this for the people, for our teacher to understand our idea. And so we simplified the data on the right. I simplified. We simplified the data on the right to the data on the left to show us like the main risks, and we still have them. For sure, we had other maps, which was like the part of the analysis. Next tip I use is just the volume. Sometimes depends on the scale, but I don't like the flat building if there is a huge zoom. So I use 2.5D, for example, to show the height of the building. And for example, we have this Warsaw City Center and La Lipa, and we may see the problems and how dense other buildings. I think it also shows us the situation, and we can easily see some interesting things about these areas. Almost final part, it's the unique elements. I like when the maps are playful. If it's not for the department, for sure for department we do, at my work we do the maps really strict and not that playful. But sometimes I like to add some flowers, some hearts and so on. On the right side, it is a pretty old one, Lynch analysis in Gdańsk. It was just about the dominant and point of view viewpoints. And on the left, it's Cañoroto in Madrid, the regeneration project we are working on. And I hope that you see the heart in the center of the Cañoroto. So it's the community center, and we are working with this community. And we knew that that they will be in the final presentation. They went for a walk with us. So actually, this community center is the heart of the neighborhood, and on the map I showed it's actually like a heart. And the final trick is think about the map as an art. And it can be not that easy to understand, but I will explain you. On the left, there is a part of the map which I made for Malbork, for my bachelor thesis. And here we have the picture of my mom's patchwork, because she's sewing and she makes patchwork. And for my master's thesis, I wanted to make some map which will be dedicated to my mother. So I thought about the idea of patchwork, and I thought in which map can I use this patchwork. And actually I have to show the density of the services, of the points of interest, and I thought that it may work. So I still think that it was an interesting idea. I'm not sure about how I made it, but I think it worked. And here I have just a small example. It was just done just for the posters. It was not the part of the project, but some maps when I was inspired by some celebrations and from the Halloween and from the Christmas. So I just used the mood and color palette to show the celebration and create this mood. But for the summary, the true magic happens when we use this insight from the beautiful maps which we're creating, and when it actually makes people live better. Yes, this is the final slide of my presentation. If you need my contact, it's here. So thank you so much.
Los subtítulos son muy gráficos.
¿Cuál pregunta?
¿Alguien tiene alguna pregunta?
Do you work completely in QGIS?
Yes.
Like, do you do all the design, all the final designs of QGIS,
Yes.
or just for illustration work?
No. I do everything in QGIS. So all the patterns, all the elements, it's possible to do in QGIS. Sometimes it's just part of the Python. Actually, I don't use it. And sometimes we use SVG. I'm not sure in Spanish, but sometimes it's vector graphic, which was imported to QGIS. And yes, maybe just some drawings and some schemes I do in Illustrator because it will be much faster, but basically most of the part, I'm too lazy to export this actually.
Do you use only comments or slides, or do you
Yes.
use kind of isograph for that?
Like the data.
Yeah.
So it depends because I work in bureau and we are working with the strategical plans and with like different cities. It's like an actual strategical project, and sometimes we may receive the data from the city. So it will be closed data because in Poland it looks like we don't have like the data for each of the buildings. We have it, but it's closed and you just cannot download it. So you should take it from the department, pay for it, or department. It's possible that the department will give it to you if you need for like some educational project or the like project for the city. So it's possible, yeah. And for like for Madrid, everything we done it was with the open data, and I think Madrid GeoPortal was. Yeah.
Do you make digital maps or only maps for print?
I think most of it is for print. Like I think I exported something for like web pages, but I never worked like with a like real internet page where we need to put them up. So yeah, because mainly we work with the departments and the city, so it should be printed and developed.
And do you think that maps for digital maps should be less detailed or more detailed because you can zoom in, or what's your opinion about that?
For digital, well, I think it should be dependent on scale for sure. In Poland, we have this scale-dependent GeoPortal. In Madrid, it's the same. I'm not sure about other Spanish cities because I've been only to Madrid to Erasmus. And I think, yeah, for sure. Like if we have digital, depends on the project what we would like to show.
About the artistic detail, and not detail about the zoom, about the streets or the name of the street or the labels. I mean about the artistic detail.
Artistic one, like in the patterns or?
If you think it should be different in detail, and artistic detail to print or to
to digital. So for sure, there is a difference when you make like artistic map for prints, because sometimes I think it was last summer at my bureau we made analysis of the regeneration part, and I put like a nice pattern, everything, but then we printed it and it was just a simple fill. So it really depends. If it's a huge poster with the details, with the patterns, it's nice, but when it's just A4 document with a map which shows like a lot of the buildings and so on, sometimes it's just senseless to make like really nice design. Sometimes it should be just clean and simple. Yeah.
Do you decide to use QGIS because you learned it in university, or did you guys learn any other tools that you ended up discarding because they weren't as useful?
No, I had really nice classes at my university, and we've been learning QGIS for half of the year, for one semester, and then other semester was about ArcGIS, and it's more powerful, it's more popular, but it costs. And for example, I work in a pretty small bureau, and not all the bureaus can afford because it's really expensive program. So yeah, it's free, it's open for me, and now it works perfectly. Maybe in future I will go to ArcGIS, but I didn't like how does the design and the changes in ArcGIS works. Actually, I think QGIS and the designing point of view is much better, and it's free. Sure. That's it. Thank you so much.
Un aplauso.